What's up, YouTube? Evan here with Cloud9 Aquariums, and today it's Friday. And you know what? I figured it's Friday, so let's talk about some filtration. That's right, folks. Now, filtration, especially if you're new to the hobby, this is one thing that's going to be really critical, and you may not know even where to begin because there's a lot of different kinds of filters out there. So I'm just going to kind of point you in the right direction, just talk about three main kind of filters, and then I'm going to go over just a few of the different media I like to use in my filters. Alright? So, some of you old folks might remember one of these. This is just a little mini version, but it's the same basic scenario. It's under gravel filter, okay? Now, what you do speaks for itself. It goes under your gravel. So you put this down on the base of your aquarium, and you put your little gravel over it, and you got your downpipe here. You put a air stone down it, and then you pump it with an air pump. And basically what basic gist of what's going on is the air rising is going to draw some water up the tube, which creates a suction down through the plate. And what's cool about it is it brings water down through your gravel, so it really makes your tank really look kind of serene because there's no big jets of water going through your tank, no big water flow, but it's still getting a nice turnover, and it's using your gravel as an actual filter, which is kind of cool. Now, one of the downsides to this is old tank syndrome. Okay, and what basic old tank syndrome can be, even if you don't have one of these, it's still possible to get it. And that's kind of one of those things where if you don't really clean your tank well enough, and over years it just kind of builds up and builds up and builds up, and eventually you're going to get to the point where you're never going to get your balance back, and you just got to restart all over. Now, the reason that an under gravel filter can really make that happen is because eventually, if you're not cleaning out your gravel very well, that debris can actually get sucked down underneath the filter plate. And when it starts building up over there, and it's building up more than it's actually decomposing and going back into your water column, then you got a problem. So it's really, it's one of those things, kind of a hit and miss. Nobody's really using them much anymore. I actually run one in my 40-gallon, but I think eventually I'll take it out. But it seems to work pretty well for me. But I like to use it as just kind of a secondary filter system. I don't really use it. I use it in conjunction with a canister. Now, one of the most popular things right now is actually hang-on back filters. If you're going in the forums and stuff like that, if you see somebody talking about an HOB, that's what they're talking about. It's a hang-on back filter. It's one of these bad boys. Alright, now, pretty simple concept. It just hangs right inside the tank like so, okay, and it's just going to draw water out of your tank and into this little compartment. Now, generally right over here, they make these pre-made bags. It's pretty awesome. It's filter floss, and a lot of them have activated carbon in it, and then the water just goes down this little water slide, aerates your water on the way down, returns back to your tank. Pretty simple. You get a nice little flow from it, and you can actually get kind of a stream of water coming out from it, which can be cool if you like to play with aquascapes and stuff like that. One of the good advantages to these is that they really they don't really have a tendency. There's no really way for them to leak out of your tank, which is something people are concerned with canisters. But besides that, one of the downsides that I kind of am iffy about is the fact I feel like this filter is really better for just a mechanical and chemical filter. And here's one thing I'm going to kind of get into. I'm talking about media, but I guess I'll get into it right now. When you're talking about filtration, there's really three main points about filtration you got to think about: biological, mechanical, and chemical. Now, mechanical is kind of one of the major aspects, is what everybody's thinking about. You're seeing, okay, dirty water must mean I got a lot of debris floating around in my water, so I need to get it out. Now, how are you going to do that? Well, most people will assume that, a filter with some filter floss or whatever is going to get it out. And that's cool, that's how you get your mechanical stuff out. But when you're talking about mechanical, we're talking about, anything from excess fish food, plant matter, animal feces, anything that's in the water. That's what it's taken out. The big stuff that you can see. Biological has to do with the nitrogen cycle. Now, I'm going to make a whole video just on nitrogen cycle because it's something that's really important for your tank, especially for you beginners. You really need to get your head around it because it'll make your life a world easier. So, but the basic gist of what you need to know for filtration is, for your nitrogen cycle to actually continue running, you want to have some beneficial bacteria in your tank. And the great thing is, the more water that they're exposed to, the more that they're allowed to change that ammonia or that nitrite or that nitrate and convert it into healthier things. And so if your filter is holding those bacteria, it's great because there's a huge water flow in your filter. And the problem with that is, sure, they'll build up on your filter floss and stuff, but then when you change this every 2 weeks or a month or whatever you decide works for your tank, boom, that's gone. Then you have to start over with a whole new thing. So that's one thing I don't really like about it, is that there's really, in a lot of them, now I know there's bio wheels and stuff like that, but I'm just talking about the generic hang-on back filter. There's really no way to maintain your biological filter in it. But in terms of mechanical and chemical, it's excellent. Now, I'll just touch on chemical real quick too. Chemical, the basic thing you're going to think the most about for chemical when you get out in the fish realm is activated carbon. And what activated carbon does, and it's a chemical reaction is what's going on. But activated carbon is used mostly for taking out, say you have some sick fish, and you put medicine in. It'll take out that extra medicine, so when you're done medicating your fish, you can put activated carbon in your filters and it'll pull that medicine out of the water, so you don't have to do like 100% water change or something stupid like that. Another thing it'll do is it'll actually pull out some kind of tannins in your water, so if you got like a brown murky water, the activated carbon can pull that out. And it also just helps your water not to smell fishy. If you walk in your fish room and it's just, your friends don't even want to go in it, what's fun is checking out your fish if you can't even stand the smell of them. Now, I'm not saying my tanks would smell if I didn't have activated carbon in it, but if it is, try some activated carbon, maybe it'll help. So that's kind of the 3 things that we really kind of worry about. And then finally, this is kind of what everybody dreams about, is the canister filter, or at least what I always did. And a canister filter, you'll notice, is a lot bigger. This is actually a small one. This is just a little Fluval 304. But the great thing about this is not only does it add a volume to your water, so this is an extra couple gallons that's technically in your water column but not in your tank, which is great because the more water you have, the tendency is that it's going to stay more balanced. The fluctuations won't be so great so quickly. Now with these, I'll just go through it real quick. We have filter sponges for your mechanical, and then they use some ceramic discs. I gotta get them on the bottom. Some ceramic discs, which are for also mechanical, and then you have another compartment where I like to put some activated carbon, and then I usually put some filter floss in there too. And then this is like the gung ho right here. This is really where the biological happens, and this is what makes canister filters great. These are just ceramic rings, which are really a porous surface on them, which is great because the more surface area you have, the more biological bacteria you can have growing in your filter. Another great thing with these is that you have a really high flow rate through it, so you're really pumping a lot of water through your tank, because you really want to cycle the water of your tank a couple times an hour. You don't want it to just be stagnant. So we really want to pump that water through, and especially when that much water is flowing through those bacteria, that means that they're just loving it and they're able to break down all this stuff and it's just going to town. And the great thing about that too is, even when you have to clean it out, I know, like, the great thing about hang-on backs is that they're really convenient. They're right there. You just, turn it off real quick, pull the filter bag out, put a new one in, boom, turn it back on. Like, okay, you rinse it, and, but the basic gist of it takes all of, 5 minutes to change a filter bag. Whereas a canister filter is a little bit more of a process because you gotta take it. I like to keep mine in like a Home Depot bucket or something like that. You gotta unhook the hoses from them. Again, it's all pretty user-friendly, but you gotta unhook the hoses from it and carry it into the bathroom, and open it up, and it's gonna spill a little bit of water somewhere, and you gotta take out each little filter bag box, and either rinse your media in tank water, if it's the biological stuff, or replace your filter floss and stuff. And so it takes a little longer. It usually takes about 10 minutes to do it. And I know 10 minutes doesn't sound like a lot, but some people don't have that much time on their hands. So canister filters seem like a little bit of extra work. The major drawback of canister filters is just the cost. They're pretty expensive when you're first going out to buy one. One thing I recommend is if you know what you're looking for, and especially if you can find someone who's a fish tank guru or whatever around you, who really knows what they're talking about, get one off Craigslist. A lot of the old ones still work fine. I run like Fluval 304s, which aren't like the current model right now, but they work fantastic. And the parts are readily available even if they do break. So that's just one thing, just to kind of save cost on it. Another thing I like to do, and I know once you start getting into it, you'll notice that especially for hang-on backs and stuff, those filter bags can actually get kind of expensive. I know, like, if you buy them in bulk, it's not too bad, but again, it could be cheaper. So for all of us penny pinchers out there, you can just really use this stuff right here. This is just some polyester fill for like bedding or pillows or whatever. Make sure you get the polyester, because you don't want to get the cotton, because that's just going to break down and then be completely worthless to you. But if you get the polyester fill, you can just take a little bunch like this, shove it down your filter, wham. It's the exact same thing. In fact, this stuff is actually a little bit more fine than some of the filter bags they give you, and I find that it actually plugs up a little faster, which is good because that means it's getting a lot more stuff out. So this is what I use, and I get a huge bag of it for $3. You can pick it up at Walmart or any kind of craft store or anything like that. So that's just one of my little money-saving tips for the day. So that's just my little unit on filtration. It's really what works for you. I really like hang-on backs for my smaller tanks, just because I feel most of them don't get enough flow for the bigger tanks. And I just don't really like the look of them on like a clean. It just doesn't look so clean to me. I can kind of hide my canister filter underneath. Plus, I like the fact of my biological media in the canister. That really just helps keep my tanks balanced. And you can see, I mean, they're just really clear, and my fish are loving it. So, feel free to leave any questions or comments or concerns or suggestions or anything else you can think about. Down below. I'll always try to get back to you. And if you haven't already, subscribe. This is something that there's so much to talk about, and I got so much in the works. So, subscribe and check it out. Let's see what's coming up next. So I hope this brings you and your fish just a little bit closer to Cloud 9.